Hey everybody, welcome back to round 43 of Inside the Clinch. Eric and Johnny back for another week of MMA action. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing good. Had a little panic attack right now because I couldn't find my adapter for the USB because, the new Macs have the Thunder cable. And I don't know where it went because I was using it like yesterday and I put it into my bag and like it disappeared. I have no idea where it went. But I found my old one, which is like looks like it's like not working. Like the cover piece fell off, but I guess it is working. So we're good.
All right, man. Don't touch too much. I'm sure it'll be fine for
No, I'm not. I'm trying to avoid moving my computer, trying to like avoid any like fast movements because I feel like that shit's gonna break any second.
You'll be good. You're a professional, man. Don't sweat it. So,
Yeah,
John, my little brother actually just reminded me earlier this week that Inside the Clinch is officially a year old already. A couple days ago, Inside the Clinch's 1 year birthday. So just wanted to put that out there. We've been doing this for a year already, 43 episodes. I think we've had, 9, 10 different guests so far. Like it was an exciting year, man. And we've been growing. We've been doing a whole bunch of different things. So it's crazy. It's been a year. I'm looking forward to the next few years to see where this thing goes.
Yeah. When was what was the date of our first podcast? Like around, not the exact date, but like what month was it? And how does your brother know about it?
My brother Jacob actually watches all our episodes on YouTube. He's one of our really strong supporters. So shout out to Jacob.
Shout out Jacob.
Let me see the first episode.
How old is Jacob now? Is he 15?
Nah, he's 11 now. So our first episode is
way off.
October 23rd, 2020. So
damn,
we're about a year and 5 days away from the birth of this podcast.
That's crazy. Shout out Jacob and keep listening to our stuff, man, and keep reminding us of our anniversaries.
So, man, we had a very interesting weekend. We had a Bellator event. We had a UFC event. Last night, we had the PFL go down as well. So, man, let's start off with the Bellator. We had Fedor Emelianenko with a beautiful first round win in Moscow with his home crowd. It was just an amazing performance. I did not expect his hand speed to still be as fast as it was. Like his hand speed was phenomenal. It looked the same Fedor from like 20 years ago. Power, precision. As always, there's not one look of any emotion or stress or anything on his face. And at the end, the guy is humble and, polite and thanks his fans, thanks to his family, and thanks God, and very religious man. And how do you not love Fedor? Like, how can you not?
I don't know how people don't like Fedor. I feel like for the most part, most people like Fedor because like he hasn't really done anything bad to anybody. I know he had his differences with Dana White in terms of like contract negotiations and stuff like that. But like he is, as you said, a really respectful guy. And as Daniel Cormier said, one of your favorites, he's one of the best heavyweights of all time. And even though he was in the UFC, I would have to agree with that statement. Just look at his resume, man. He's like 40-6, I believe, somewhere around there. Crazy knockouts over some tough opponents. Some opponents look like they were twice his size, and he was able to come up with a victory. And he did it once again on Saturday night with Timothy Johnson. I know a lot of people didn't really want that fight or didn't really understand how that fight made sense, but still, Timothy Johnson he's still winning fights. He still has knockout power, and he's huge. And Fedor Emelianenko just dismantled him early. So it was nice to see Fedor Emelianenko back in the win column. When he won, I was fucking hype because you know how much we love Fedor, man.
So we weren't sure going into this fight if this was going to be Fedor's last fight or not. He was asked, obviously, in a bunch of different interviews, and he said it's going to largely depend on how he performs and how he feels, which I think was, the best response. But I think
did he say that? I thought I might be wrong, but
yeah, I heard him say that on Ariel Helwani.
Oh, really? I thought I read somewhere that he said that regardless of the outcome, that he's not done with the sport.
I don't know. Maybe he said that somewhere else. On Ariel's, he said that he was going to see. It's going to be dependent on how he feels and how he performs. I don't think the performance could have gone much more perfect, in my opinion. I mean, he didn't really get hit. He landed, like I said, really fast, really hard shots and got in and out of there at like less than 2 minutes. I don't know. So what's next for Fedor? I have one idea, but I want to get your take first.
Well, I'm looking at the Bellator rankings, and I see Ryan Bader is a champion right now. Then Valentin Moldavsky is he's the number one contender, and then we have Czech Congo. Those are the three people ahead of Bader and Emelianenko. So I would assume that it'll make sense for him to fight one of those three. But what are you thinking?
So Fedor, I think so. There's two fights, I think, regardless of rankings, that make sense. So you were just saying how Dana White and Fedor couldn't come to an agreement. So, you know, that's why Fedor never came over to the UFC. Well, we have two great fighters that were former UFC fighters that are now over in Bellator. We have Yoel Romero, which is going to be a crazy fight. And we have Rumble Johnson, which I know he's dealing with some health issues. I'm hoping he recovers okay. But I think either one of those options, I feel like would be a huge, huge event for Bellator. And I don't know if Fedor is going to win. I kind of feel bad almost offering those opponents just because of, I don't know. I feel like, again, different era and everything, but prime Fedor obviously would have no problem with either of those guys.
I think that's Anthony Rumble Johnson would. I mean, look, we haven't seen Anthony Rumble Johnson fight in such a long time, so I can't really make a judgment.
Why? He fought a couple of months ago.
Did he? Oh yeah, he did. He had that knockout win.
Yeah, very
I take
nice.
that back. Yeah.
Yeah, but prior to that, it was forever ago. Yeah, that was a quick fight, and prior to that, it was a while.
Yeah, so we can't really. I mean, I guess so. Johnson is in the mix, but Romero's last fight, like, I was very excited for his last fight, but seeing him perform like that, I'm honestly not too excited to see Yoel Romero continue his MMA career. Like, it was a very one-sided fight. Yoel Romero, I don't know, I was really disappointed. But I would have to agree with you that both of those fights would draw huge numbers for Bellator.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's the two biggest names you can put together out of anyone on their roster right now. Look, Fedor still fucking killing it out here, man. I'm a big fan till the day I die. I'm going to be a Fedor fan. You know what I mean? He's the MMA GOAT, in my opinion. Yeah, man.
Past 40 years old, still in Bellator. He's in his last 5 fights, he's 4-1, defeating Frank Mir, Chael Sonnen, your boy. He lost to Ryan Bader, who is currently the heavyweight champion in Bellator, and he beat Quinton Rampage Jackson. I mean, an old Rampage Jackson that looks like he shouldn't be fighting anymore. And most recently, Timothy Johnson. So Fedor Emelianenko is definitely in the mix, definitely a threat to anybody in the world, inside of Bellator, inside of UFC, in any organization, he will be a threat. So I'm looking forward to seeing him continue. And like, all he has to do, I know this is easy. This is easy to say and harder to do, but like, he needs to avoid getting hit, because that chin is not capable of taking those shots anymore. So if he's able to avoid getting hit somehow, I think he does have he still has a few bright years ahead in his Bellator career.
I completely agree with everything you just said there. So earlier in the card, we had Usman Nurmagomedov, Khabib's cousin. He beat Patrick Petila, via first round submission. It was a beautiful performance. First round, I mean, he was in and out of there quick. He didn't take any damage. Father's plan, you go for the takedown, you secure the submission, and you're in and out of there, no damage done. I thought he performed great. At the end of the fight, he said he asked for a top 15 or top 10 opponent. He said the haters are piling on quick. And to be honest, that would be my criticism as well. His opponent didn't really have the greatest record. I think almost as many losses as wins. So yeah, a step up in competition would be nice. We know the kid is the real deal. We know he's not just, some fluke with a Nurmagomedov last name. So I think it's time to start giving him legit opponents. I think he's deserved that, and it's time to put the show on the road.
Yeah, it's just so crazy to see how so many fighters coming out of Dagestan are like, they're dominating in every organization practically. Like, we had Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now we have Islam fighting Dan Hooker, top five fighter in the world, and we have Magomed Ankalaev. I don't think he's from the same team as Khabib, but another Dagestani fighter, high in the rankings. And we have so many of them. And Usman Nurmagomedov is definitely representing the Nurmagomedov family very well in Bellator, and I see him probably being a Bellator champion sometime in the near future.
Absolutely. I hope they give him the right fights to get to a championship. I hope they don't drag it out and keep feeding him nobodies, because this kid, like we just said, like he has all the skills, he has all the potential, and he has the right team behind him to get him to that title shot. And realistically in Bellator,
bunch of killers, man.
Dude, the kid is still young. Give him another 2-3 years to develop his skills and hit his prime physically, athletically. And I think he's going to be one of the most unstoppable people in the Bellator roster if he sticks around. Because I mean, there aren't too many people I feel like that. There's the top of the division that would obviously be interesting to see how he performs against. But if you give him a few more years to evolve, I feel like it's going to be unstoppable, brother.
Yeah, I don't want to compare Usman Nurmagomedov to Khabib, and I don't want to say that he's better than Khabib, because I definitely don't think that at this point in his career, Usman Nurmagomedov has so much to prove. But just looking at his striking, I feel like it's so much more crisp than Khabib. He's so technical with it. So I think he has a lot of potential, and he has the wrestling on his side as well. So very dangerous in Bellator. I feel like once again, I think he's going to be a future champion.
I mean, look, I think the striking is one of the main differences between him and Khabib. Most of the guys from Dagestan, they have very similar grappling style. Not everyone's as good at it as Khabib, but it's the same style. But then when you look at the striking, Usman has more of a, I don't know if it's karate or taekwondo. I think it's karate. Like, his kicking is much better. His striking is better, the way he stands. Khabib didn't have any of that. He developed that later on in his career once he started training over at AKA with Javier Mendez. He developed his hands, but Usman has had these, karate skills growing up. It looks like he's very comfortable throwing all these spinning kicks and, jumping or whatever it is. It looks natural to him. So like you said, maybe not at this point in his career, maybe it is still too young, but I think barring any injuries, I think if Usman has a long career, I think he has definitely the potential to be better than Khabib.
Yeah, I think the younger generation of these Dagestani fighters, even with Islam, who's fighting this weekend, I feel like he's way more technical in the striking department than Khabib. I know that he resorts to his wrestling and grappling a lot, but I do think that his striking is far more crisp than Khabib's. But we'll see how both those fellas do in their respective promotions.
Zabit is another good example. He's a Kyokushin background karate guy and another Dagestani brother. So, I mean, look, I know he's not the same team, but they're from the same region. There's really not that many people in that corner of the world. So
who's not from the same team?
Zabit. I mean, he's from Dagestan. But
Zabit.
Yeah. So look, Kyokushin karate, beautiful striking from Dagestan. A lot of interesting things coming out from there.
When the hell is Zabit going to return, by the way?
I don't know. He was waiting to hear back about some health issues. I didn't really ask him when I saw him in Connecticut at Mohegan, even though I really, really wanted to. I should have. I should have. He looked like he didn't really want to talk to anyone or anything, so I just kind of shook his hand and let him get on his way.
I think he just has that chronic bitch face. Like he does look like he's a nice guy. And I'm sure if you spoke to him in Russian, you would have been like, hello, so definitely missed an opportunity over there.
What can I do, man? Hopefully I'll bump into him again soon.
It is what it is.
All right, man. Also this weekend, we had Vettori versus Costa on the UFC card. A lot of great fights on that card, but we're just going to touch on the main event because we have an exciting fight card to break down for you guys this weekend. So Marvin Vettori versus Paulo Costa. Where the hell do we begin with this, man? Building up to this fight was supposed to be at middleweight, 185 pounds. That was the contracted weight that was agreed to by both guys. During fight week, Costa and his team get to the venue, to Vegas, and during some of the media questions, there started to be some whispers that Paulo Costa might not make weight. So, more media starts asking about it, poking around, the word starts getting out, and next thing we hear, Costa's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty much not making 185, hopefully 195. Thursday night, I think it was, they agreed to 195. Friday morning, I wake up, I hear that the weight is changed again to 205. And then I'm looking at all these videos, and Paulo Costa is like almost, I don't want to say killing himself to make that 205 weight, but like it was not an easy weight cut for him. And through all those interviews, he was saying like after the fight, I'm going to tell you guys like the real reason and all that crap. I don't know how much of that was just like a media spin, but I don't know, extremely, extremely unprofessional in my opinion, especially since his last fight. He was saying how he got too drunk and drank a whole bottle of wine the night before his fight. I mean, the guy's very, very unprofessional. Now, the fight itself, the fight was great and it was very interesting to watch. Marvin Vettori is a stud. He took a lot of big, powerful shots from Costa. Costa looked like in that first round, I remember texting you, I thought Costa was done in that first round. Like halfway through the round one, he's breathing out of his mouth. And I'm like, yo, that's it. Vettori got this. And then we get into the later rounds, round 3, 4, 5, and Costa's still, hitting just as hard, just as fast, if not faster than the beginning of the fight. So, I mean, he was in there. He was in good fighting shape, but I think it's very, very, I almost want to say the word egregious, the way he behaved and handled the whole weight cut situation. And I think Paulo Costa gave Vettori 20% of his purse. I think there should be a much bigger fine.
Definitely.
This is just ridiculous. Like, it's very, very unprofessional. And honestly, Vettori is a G for keeping this fight, staking the fight. He said, no matter what, I want this fight. And as we've seen time and time again, a lot of UFC fighters will not do that. So Vettori, I never thought I'd be saying this, but man, I am definitely a fan. You gained a lot of fans the way you carried yourself this past weekend. So hats off to you, brother.
Yeah, aside from the ridiculous pants that he wears, which you pointed out, I was actually very impressed by him as well. And as you mentioned, Paulo Costa, very unprofessional. And I read somewhere that what did he weigh in at? I think he weighed in at even more than 205, which is the crazy part.
No, he weighed in officially at 204. On the next day, he was like at 220 or something.
Oh, yeah. So the fight day, he was like close to 220. Yeah, that's what I read. But yeah, Costa, I'm going to start off with Costa. So aside from being unprofessional, I think that Costa did a great job. He looked outstanding out there. He did catch a beating, but he threw some wicked punches, wicked kicks that I was really not expecting. But Marvin Vettori, I feel like the difference in this fight was the volume. He landed more strikes, slightly more strikes. He landed more significant strikes. Overall, he landed more. He did more damage. Paulo Costa did have a takedown in the fight. I don't know how much credit you want to give to that. I think the scorecard should have been a little bit closer. A lot of people are like kind of shitting on Costa, and rightfully so because of the weight cut and stuff. But it was a very, very exciting fight. Marvin Vettori shocked the world, took the fight, as you said. A lot of respect to him. A lot of people would not have taken that fight, and he performed incredibly. But I do think that Paulo Costa, whether it's in middleweight, whether he moves up to light heavyweight, aside from him being unprofessional, he has a lot of skill. Like if you see him throw that high kick, there's a lot of skill behind that. And I don't know, he just needs to get his shit together. And regarding the wine, so he says that he drinks the wine to help him sleep. And at first I didn't really believe that, but then there was an interview, I don't know if you saw it, dating back like 4 or 5 years ago, where he's describing all the supplements that he takes, and there was a bottle of wine on the floor, and the person that was recording or the interviewer was like, what is that bottle of wine? And he's like, oh, I'll get to that in a second. And he says that he drinks a glass of wine to help him sleep. So, I mean, at least he's not lying. I mean,
look, a glass of wine is one thing. What he was saying, what happened at fight week, couldn't sleep. So it started as a glass, and one glass became 2, and 2 became 3. And then next thing you know, the whole bottle's gone. And on a regular night, I wouldn't criticize him if, even if he was in camp, whatever. But dude, it's the night before your very first title shot in the UFC. How can you do something like that stupid? I'm sorry. It's just dumb.
Why does she drink wine? Why can't he just like take some melatonin or like some other supplement to help him sleep, smoke a little bit of weed or something?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Yeah. He's a special guy.
He's a special guy. I still like him. I think he's a beast.
Look, in my opinion, I think he's one of the more overrated guys on the roster. He does have insane power. He does have, his precision isn't bad, but like, I don't know, I don't want to say he's too big because that's definitely not the issue, but like, I don't think he's a top contender.
I think he's a brawler. That's what he is.
He is, but like Mike Perry's a brawler too. Mike Perry, pound for pound, I think is better than Paulo Costa. You know what I mean? Like,
nah, I don't think so.
Pound for pound.
I would have to disagree with that. I think that Costa, maybe he's not a top 5. I don't fucking know, dude. I think he's good. Maybe not top 5, but I think he's definitely top 10. But like top 10 where? This dude is like fighting at light heavyweight. So I don't know where he's going to rank when he moves up in weight and the guys are stronger and they hit harder. So as of right now, Paulo Costa needs to get his shit together, needs to take a little bit less steroids or whatever he's on to give him that insane physique. But I don't know. I'm still a fan of his.
Oh, and the excuse afterwards that he said that he told everyone he was going to tell everyone why he missed weight. He said that he had a bicep injury, which a year ago or 2 years ago, he had bicep surgery. There was like some muscle detachment on his bicep. And Vettori made a very good point in the post-fight press conference. He's like, how does your bicep stop you from going on the treadmill or going for a run or cutting weight? He goes, if he was saying that, he was injured and he couldn't punch me or something and because his bicep was injured, he said, sure, that'd be no problem. But how is your bicep injury stopping you from, sweating out and losing weight? Like, made no sense. But that's neither here or there. Let's figure out what's next for these two guys. For Marvin Vettori, I have two possible ideas who I want to see him in there with. Anyone that...
Let's hear it.
All right. So we have Brunson that's on a really good streak right now. He's trying to make his way back up to fight Adesanya. And look, I know Marvin Vettori might need a few more wins before he gets to see Adesanya again, but he's going to have to beat the Derek Brunsons of the division to get back into that contention. And my second opponent that I thought would be a great matchup for Vettori's next fight, Sean Strickland. I know there's been a lot of talk about Sean Strickland. I don't think he's booked for any fight right now. But I think any of the three of those, honestly, you want to mix it up and match it, I think is a great fight and potentially can put you in the next title shot.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the UFC rankings right now. So Derek Brunson is ranked number 4. Sean Strickland is ranked number 7. Marvin Vettori is actually ranked number 2 right now. So, I mean...
Yeah, but rankings don't mean shit in this because, he's going to have to he already lost to the champ twice, you know what I mean? So he's going to have to be on a pretty impressive, I don't know if to say long streak, but a pretty impressive streak to get back in that title shot.
Yeah, Marvin Vettori is he's in the dilemma here because he did lose to Israel Adesanya twice. Recently, he lost to Israel Adesanya. So, and who's ahead of him? That's Robert Whittaker. So yeah, you did propose 2 plausible fights for him. Derek Brunson, Sean Strickland. I mean, yeah, those are pretty good fights. I would have to agree with you on both of those. And I think he would pose a threat to both of those guys.
And for Paulo Costa, assuming he goes up to light heavyweight, what about Johnny Walker, man? I feel like that would be a nice fight night main event right there.
Johnny Walker. Did Paulo Costa mention that he's going to light heavyweight, or did he say he's continuing?
Costa said he's staying at 185. Dana said there's no way they're giving him a shot at 185. He's staying at light heavyweight. We saw something similar when Costa, again, when he had that surgery, Costa was trying to, get an okay to fight. Dana White said, dude, relax, make sure your body heal properly. What does Paulo Costa do? He goes and forges some fake doctor's note to give him an okay. I feel like this is something similar going on here where Dana White's telling him he has to stay at light heavyweight. And he's saying, no, I'm going to middleweight. But we'll see. Dana's the boss, man. If I was the UFC, I would not give Paulo Costa, at least not his next 2-3 fights at 185, especially the way he carried himself was just, he didn't care that he missed weight. You know what I mean? He just did not give a shit, which I don't know. I don't like that. I think it's very unprofessional and I don't think it should be rewarded.
I think that maybe he strategically planned to maybe be a little bit heavier to have an advantage. I feel like that's something that the fighters kind of planned, but I don't know. Johnny Walker.
If he did that for Izzy, it would make more sense. But someone like Vettori, he's even with the weight cut, he's much bigger than Vettori. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I would say that Johnny Walker would be a good fight for him because Johnny Walker came in, looked like a pretty good prospect, beating everybody, and then he's not on a great run right now. He lost to Cory Anderson, lost to Nikita Krylov, and most recently to Thiago Santos. Recently, yeah. So Costa needs to figure it out, whether it be at light heavyweight, middleweight. I know he said that Dana White doesn't want him to fight there, but he needs to get his shit together, and I'm still excited to see him perform. Yeah.
Man, let's move on to the PFL real quick before we get to the UFC 267 card. I'm just going to read out. So last night was the PFL finale, the championship. They announced 6 winners, 6 champions, $6 million given out in prizes. At featherweight, we had Movlid, Khaybulayev. He was also on Khabib's team, made a nice little speech about Khabib's father afterwards. At the women's featherweight, we had Kayla Harrison. She's a back-to-back PFL champion. At lightweight, we have Raush Manifo. At welterweight, Ray Cooper III. He's another back-to-back not only a back-to-back champion, but he's the only fighter to be in the finale for all 3 seasons. Ever since the PFL has begun this regular season and playoff structure, Ray Cooper has been in the finale all 3 years, the only guy on their roster. At light heavyweight, we had Antonio Carlos Jr. and at heavyweight, Bruno Cappelozza.
Yeah, congratulations to all those guys. $1 million. That's a big change in their life. You know, like they're fighting in the PFL. They're obviously not very well known. But yeah, congratulations to all those guys. Shout out to Kayla Harrison. We always shout her out. 2-time Olympic judo gold medalist, 2-time PFL champion. But now she has to move on. I think she can't fight in the PFL anymore.
So that's the big question. So this was the last fight on her PFL contract when she came to the PFL, when she started her MMA career. She signed a 2-year contract that is now expired. So she's now a free agent. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of offer the PFL makes to her, what an organization like Bellator or UFC, if they're interested, what kind of offers they're going to throw her way. Interesting time to be Kayla Harrison.
Yeah, I feel like whatever the PFL gives her, I think that Kayla Harrison, if she wants to be known as the best female in the world, I think that she has to leave the PFL. I know the PFL might throw a large sum of money at her, but I feel like she has to, if she wants the legacy, if she wants to be the best female fighter of all time, like she says she is, I think that she has to leave the PFL and go to the UFC and not to Bellator. I know that you keep saying that she should possibly go to Bellator and then go to UFC after. I think that she should go straight to UFC while she's still young, while she still has it, and while she could possibly beat Amanda Nunes. So I don't think the Bellator should be an option for her, nor should the PFL. But I don't know. We'll see what she decides.
Look, there's 2 ways to look at it. If she stays in the PFL, she's going to be fighting the same level of competition she's been fighting. You know, it's going to be a quick $1 million paycheck every year. Why not, right? But at the same time, if you, like you said, if you want to do it for the legacy, if you want to be a staple in the sport, if you want to be one of the Mount Rushmore of MMA, you're going to have to go to at least Bellator, but you have to go to the UFC. You know what I mean? Like it's the pinnacle of MMA. How good are you? We don't know until you can fight against a top level of competition. I would love to see her come to Bellator or UFC. Obviously the UFC, just because there's more attention on that organization. I wouldn't be completely surprised if Kayla signed another deal. I know that a lot of the reason she gets upset lately because of all the haters and everything. I feel like the best way to mitigate that is to actually, you know, go fight real athletes. I don't know. Like, it's not her fault. Like, I can't criticize her. It's, you know, the PFL isn't necessarily matching her up with these level of girls, but there's no girls in that roster that give her any threat. Like, she's better than all the females in that organization. So I don't know.
No, it's definitely not her fault. I think that it was a strategic move coming to the PFL to start her MMA career, not fighting the best.
No, to start, there's no criticism. She had to start somewhere, and I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, so now she knows the MMA game. She's been fighting for a few years now. But now I feel like it's the time to move on. And like, yeah, she could be making her that $1 million every year, but if she makes it in the UFC, she's going to be making so much more, and she's going to be so much more famous. There's so many people that I still talk to today that don't know who Kayla Harrison is. And that's crazy because she's such a good fighter. So I think that she needs to move to the UFC and only to the UFC. And if she makes it in the UFC, she's going to be making way more than $1 million. And she's probably going to get gigs for commercials. She's probably going to get gigs. The UFC opens the door for a lot of different things. And I feel like it's just time to move on from the PFL.
I agree. I hope she signs with one of the big boys soon. I know the biggest, I guess, point of friction with the UFC is the pay structure. That's the biggest criticism I feel like a lot of people have when coming over to the UFC. That's the main reason Fedor didn't come over. You know, the money wasn't there. I don't know. Hopefully they can come to some sort of agreement.
But first of all, when Fedor was considering the UFC, that was a while ago. The UFC is at a different place right now. And also, if she comes to the UFC, she's going to beat probably, if 90%. Not all, if not everybody, she's going to beat most of the people. She's going to be a huge name in the UFC. Like she's going to be a huge name in the UFC for sure. So she's going to be making her money. I think she's going to be making $1 million for sure. So I don't know. I think it's time to, I don't know, I keep saying this, but I think it's time to move on.
I just want to talk about the other PFL champ real quick, Ray Cooper III. So he was the champion in season 2 and season 3, just like Kayla. But what's really important about this fight is not just that he got a win over Magomed, but the reason he didn't win in season 1 was because he lost to Magomed in the finale. It was, devastating loss. Ray Cooper looked great all season, and then he got a devastating loss in the finals. This season, ever since that loss, all the interviews and everything, he was saying how determined he was to getting back in there with Magomed to get that win back and get that rematch. And this fight was great. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. I was tuning in yesterday. Ray Cooper, the guy has so much heart, man. I mean, it was a very high level fight in the striking and the grappling. And there was a point in the fight where I remember I was watching with our friend Satya, and he's like, holy shit, this dude, Ray Cooper, he's done. Like, he looked exhausted. Like, he looked like he wasn't really wasn't throwing punches and bunches really anymore. And then out of nowhere, you just get that crazy overhand and puts Magomed straight down on the canvas, knocked out. I mean, dude, not only did he win the belt, not only did he win $1 million, but he got to, get a really big loss avenged last night. So the guy must be on a very, very big high right now, and, couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah, outstanding win. Congratulations to him. Now on a 6-fight winning streak. So I don't know how many fights he has left on his deal, but I'm going to say this for every PFL fighter that's doing really well. I think it's time for some, I'm not going to say real competition, because I do think that he fought some real fighters. He fought Rory McDonald. He fought Magomed Karamov, he's pretty good in his own right. But I don't know. I mean, he could be making money in the PFL, but
yeah, but he's not the same name.
He's not the same name.
Yeah, it's not Kayla Harrison. You know what I mean? Like, the reason Kayla's going to get paid is because Kayla has a name. Ray Cooper, as much as, real MMA fans love him, I don't know how much a household fan would know him.
I'm just being greedy. I kind of just want to see him fight different people, because I do think that he's good, but I don't think that he faced the competition I don't think that he faced the best competition in the world. So regardless of his decision, I'm going to be watching him, and I'm going to be rooting for him, because he has a lot of heart, that guy.
All right, brother. Time for UFC 267. There's a lot of this card from prelims all the way through main is just stacked. One thing I want to call out, this is a very early card, 10:30 a.m. it starts. It's going to be on ESPN Plus, and then the main card is going to be on 2 p.m. also on ESPN Plus. This is UFC 267, but it's not a pay-per-view. This is going to be available for free on ESPN Plus. And this right now to me is looking like card of the year. I mean, we obviously have to see how it plays out, but this card, I'm going to read through the prelim matchups, and then we're just going to get into the main card, because there's just too much good action here. So starting off the night, we had Tagir Ulanbekov. He's going to be taking on Alan Nascimento. Next up, we have Magomed Mustafayev taking on Damir Ismagulov. Next, Hu Yaozhang versus Andrei Petrovsky. Following that, we're going to have Makwan Amir Khani versus Leon Murphy is going to be a great fight. Shamil Gamzatov against Michael Oleksiejczuk. Elizais dos Santos versus Benoit Saint Denis. Albert Duraev versus Roman Kopilov. Ricardo Ramos versus Zuba Takhurov. Amanda Ribas versus Verona Janjarova. Holy shit, that is just the prelims, man. There's so many great matchups over there. But let's start dissecting the main event. To start off the main card, we have Magomed Ankalaev taking on Volkan Ozdemir. Number 7, number 8 rankings. So, very nice matchup in terms of ranking. We get to see which one of these guys are going to be able to progress. Ozdemir is 2-4 in his last 6 fights, although the losses he did have are to DC, Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes, and Yuri Prohaska. So it is the top of the division that he's losing to. Magomed Ankalaev is on a 6-fight winning streak. His only losses to Paul Craig via submission, and we all know how savage Paul Craig's submission game is. So Magomed is 15-1 going into this fight with 9 knockouts and 6 decision wins. I don't know. I think, my personal opinion, I think Volkan Ozdemir had a nice start to the UFC. I thought he had a nice winning streak, a hot winning streak that the UFC was able to capitalize on. But I feel like that ship has sailed a long time ago. I don't think Ozdemir is as intriguing as he was during that run. Not to say he's a bad fighter. He's very strong hands. He's a great boxer. But I think Magomed Ankalaev, he's on a different level. I mean, we saw what he's been doing with people like Ian Kutileba. The guy's his striking is phenomenal. His power is there. His grappling is there. I don't know how much we've seen his cardio get tested, but I have no reason to doubt his cardio. So my opinion, I think I'm going to go Magomed Ankalaev by KO.
Yeah, I would have to agree with everything that you said. Magomed Ankalaev, the thing about him, he's pretty much good everywhere. He's an outstanding grappler. He's outstanding. He has knockout power. He's the former Ahmat champion. That's the Dagestani promotion. That's a big deal right there. Those fighters are savages. So I would have to also agree with you that Ozdemir, I mean, I think he's still intriguing. I think he still does have the knockout power, but he's been on a skid. He's last lost to Jiri Prochazka, and we know how savage he is. But that knockout was devastating. I think that could be like a career-altering knockout, and he's been losing. He's been on a skid. He gave himself the name No Time in his first few fights, which I was really high on him in his first few fights, but then he did start losing to some high-level competition. But I feel like Magomed Ankalaev is just better everywhere, and the momentum is on his side. And I think that Magomed Ankalaev is a future title contender.
Absolutely agree. I think give it a couple of years, he's definitely going to be top 3 in the division. Not too many people in the way for him to make it to the top, I think. Next up, we have Khamzat Chimaev making a return against Li Jingliang. This is going to be at welterweight. Li Jingliang is ranked number 11. Khamzat is not ranked, although he is the minus 590 favorite at this time, which is pretty incredible. If you guys have been listening to us for a while, you know that we are very big fans of the prospect Khamzat Chimaev. We think he is one of the most, just one of the biggest potentials that the UFC has right now. He did have an amazing start to his career. He had 3 fights on Fight Island, amazing finishes, quick finishes. And we thought we were going to see this guy compete every month. Then, unfortunately, he contracted COVID. He retired momentarily after getting, COVID complications. It seemed like, he wasn't in the best spirits and he was doubting, the continuation of his career. But thankfully, it looks like he got all that stuff situated. My only question, I think, in this fight would be if whatever lingering issues he had, how it would affect his cardio, because Khamzat did have a fight booked, I think, a couple of months ago that he had to pull out of because of the lingering issues. Look, as far as his skills, he has insane hands, both power and technique and precision. His grappling is phenomenal. My only question here would be the conditioning. Li Jingliang has gone the distance several times. Khamzat, he's never gone the distance. So if the fight goes the distance, will his cardio be an issue? This is a step up in competition, obviously, from anyone Khamzat has faced. But Khamzat has 100% finish rate, 6 KOs, 3 submissions. But Li Jingliang is not someone to look over either. He stopped Ponzinibbio's 7-fight winning streak in his last fight. The guy has some very heavy hands of his own. But I don't know. I don't see how Jingliang can win. This could be biased. You can say this is biased all you want. I am a very big fan of Khamzat. I just think he's better everywhere in this fight. I don't see how this fight doesn't go his way.
Yeah, so when we posted Khamzat Chimaev on our Instagram page, one of the biggest criticisms that we get, and rightfully so, is that Khamzat hasn't really beaten anybody good. I know he beat Gerald Meerschaert, who's a legend, but he hasn't really beaten any real competition yet. So I feel like with a win over Jingliang, who's ranked number 11, as you said, a former Legion FC champion, coming off a phenomenal win over Santiago Ponzinibbio, who was a huge prospect, not really the same anymore, but still very well-rounded. I feel like with the win over Jingliang, I think that people have to start giving Khamzat Chimaev credit. And I would have to agree with you. I do think that he's gonna win. Like he looks outstanding. He looked outstanding in his past few fights. He was sick with COVID, so I don't really know how that's gonna affect him, but I don't really think that's gonna make a difference. And what he said in this fight, he said that he doesn't really want that early finish. He said that he wants this fight to go a long time because he hasn't fought in a while and he's eager to fight. So in his words, he's gonna eat him. He's gonna eat Li Jingliang. So I'm very excited for this fight. It's one of the fights that I'm most excited for on this card, and that says a lot because this card is stacked. So it's going to be a good fight, hopefully.
So I'm glad that Khamzat said that he hopes he doesn't get an early finish, because Li Jingliang has only been finished once, and it was via submission. The rest of his losses were via decision. So we know Jingliang has what it takes to make it past the distance. The question is, can Khamzat stop him before the timer gets there? I'm excited for this one, man. We haven't seen Khamzat since September 2020. Look, brother, if he wins, I hope we can see him fight every month.
Yeah, we see him talking shit to Kamaru Usman. He says that he's coming for him, that Kamaru Usman is already up in age and he's going to eat him also or something like that. So very excited for Khamzat. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be one-sided as his last few fights in the UFC were. So next off, we have one of your favorite fights in the card. We have Alexander Volkov versus Marcin Tybura.
Stop. Definitely not one of my favorites, but keep going. But like I said, this card is stacked, so it's hard to say which one's your favorite and which one you hate. But no, there's definitely 10 other fights I would say are my favorite before this one.
Nah, I mean, I was just kidding. But this fight, it's exciting, but I'm gonna say it's not as exciting as the other fights that we have.
Yes.
Volkov, I feel like the difference in this fight, I feel like if Volkov is able to keep a distance, I feel like it's gonna be very hard for Tybura to beat him. And I feel like Tabura, another Polish fighter who's fighting on this card, along with his Polish brother, Jan Blachowicz, I feel like if he is able to take him down, if he's able to take Volkov down, he's going to have a lot of success. But Volkov does say that he's prepared for that. So we'll see how that goes.
Look, Volkov has improved a lot. I would criticize Volkov harshly, I would say, over the last few fights. But the last 2-3 fights, the guy's made improvements. His hands have become more precise. He's been landing on his target, and he's been landing with power. And also, it looks like he's gained a lot of weight over the last couple of fights. So all that together, he has been impressed. I have been impressed with him lately, which admittedly, I didn't think that would ever be the case, seeing how the earlier part of his career went. But Marcin Tybura is another guy he's like another stud in that division. Usually, I feel like Volkov has a huge reach advantage. That gives him, something to use over his opponents. But here, the reach advantage is only going to be 2 inches. So, not huge, especially when you're already that tall. Tabor's on a 5-fight winning streak after going 1-4. So he is making the right corrections, the right adjustments. Volkov 3-3 in his last 6. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more towards Marcin Tybura. I feel like he may be a little bit more technical. He might be a little bit more well-rounded, I believe. But Volkov has that devastating power and his size. So I don't know. I'm on the fence, but I think I'm leaning towards Tabura.
Yeah, one thing that you mentioned was that Volkov gained some weight. Like he looks bigger than he has it in previous years. So I feel like, I don't know, Volkov did evolve as a fighter. He beat some incredible names, including Overeem, Werdum, Stefan Struve, and the list goes on and on. But Marcin Tybura is a tough guy. He's in his own right, he has phenomenal wins over Walt Harris, Ben Rothwell, Maxime Grishin, and Greg Hardy. So those are some notable wins that he has. I feel like this is going to be the classic striker kind of versus grappler. I know that Marcin Tybura is not only a grappler, but he is a black belt in BJJ. And I feel like if he takes this fight to the floor, I feel like he's going to have a lot of success. So I'm probably going to have to side with you. I'm going to pick Marcin Tybura for this one as well.
He's actually the only underdog on the card that I would feel comfortable betting on. He's plus 230 right now. Looking at the main card, the spread on these odds are crazy. It's like plus minus 300, 650. I'm looking at.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the UFC website. So I'm just assuming they have the latest odds posted.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that I feel comfortable betting on Marcin Tybura, but I do think that he does have an advantage. And I didn't know that he was the underdog in this fight. So maybe we could make some money on that fight. So let's go.
All right, so next up we have Islam Makhachev taking on Dan Hooker, another Dagestani gangster. Hopefully we're going to see another carrying out a father's plan. Like we said earlier in the podcast, Islam, his style is very similar to Khabib, but the striking is just levels higher than where Khabib's was. Islam is another guy who you and I are both very big fans of. Dan Hooker, great guy. Can't really say anything bad about him, but different level, brother. Islam is just on a different level. Earlier this week, I heard Dan Hooker was trying to push for this fight to be 5 rounds. And Islam tweeted out, it's not good for you, brother. Don't do this, brother. And I agree. I mean, as much as I would love a 5-round fight, I think that this matchup would be very exciting. I don't think this is going to be a sleeper fight. I don't know. I feel like Dan Hooker is going to die if it goes 5 rounds.
Listen, I think that all you said about Dan Hooker, I do think that he's a nice guy and all that. I do think he's a good fighter, but if I'm not mistaken, I've said in the past that I think that he's a little bit overrated. He's a little bit overhyped, and he has 2 devastating losses not too long ago. He lost to Poirier. He got beaten up, if you remember that fight, and he got knocked out by Michael Chandler recently. So those might play a factor in the fight. But he feels confident in himself. He says that this is Islam's party, and he's here to spoil it. I'm not really sure how accurate that is, because I feel like Islam, just his background in Sambo. Islam, for those of you that don't know, is a Sambo world champion, a gold medalist. I feel like he's just going to maul him. He's going to Khabib him. And I feel like it's going to be a very, very tough night for Dan Hooker. And I kind of feel bad for him because, like, what is he going to do? Like, I mean, he could land a nice punch and beat Islam Makhachev like Adriano Martins did early on in his career. But this is the classic striker versus grappler match, and I feel like the grappling is just far superior in this aspect. And I don't know. I really don't see how Dan Hooker is going to win. And I feel like the spread should be bigger because Islam is just that good.
So minus 650 Islam, as what it says on the UFC website right now. He's on an 8-fight winning
streak. Jinx.
8-fight winning streak. He's 20-1 right now. Hooker just broke a two-loss streak, going 4-2 in his last 6. Experience-wise, Dan Hooker has been in the 5th round twice. Islam, I think the farthest we've seen him go is once he was in the middle of the 4th round. Again, Islam is not one of those guys where I would have to doubt his conditioning. I don't think that's an issue for him. Look, Dan Hooker, he's a great guy. He looked great in his last fight against Nasrat Haqparsad. It was a very recent fight, honestly. It was like a month ago.
Kevin Gastelum?
Yeah, Kevin Jr.
Let me tell you the biggest difference in this fight. And tell me if you agree with this. So Dan Hooker, he beat James Vick. And you know how big of an accomplishment that is. So if that says something, that's a big accomplishment. So I have to give some credit to Hooker.
James Vick, the GOAT.
You're the fucking GOAT, man.
But John, there's one thing that people aren't really talking about this fight. There's something about this fight that sets it apart from all the other fights. You know what this is?
No, what is it?
We have Hasbullah making an appearance to represent Islam Makhachev, and we have Abdul Rozik representing Dan Hooker. Both guys are going to be in the building. This card is going to be on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Place there, very welcome. And we've already seen them. I've seen videos of Hasbullah talking smack to Dan Hooker, to Dana White. So I just think it's hilarious, and I think that should be highlighted more. And I really hope that they get to walk out together.
And I love the UFC. Like, it's so exciting. Like, there's so much going on in the UFC at all times. With this Hasbullah guy, this Abdul Rozik, I know how much you love them, but hilarious. Yeah, definitely a great addition to the card. So next up, we have your favorite fighter. You're actually wearing the Petr Yan shirt. So we have Petr Yan taking on Cory Sandhagen. Cory Sandhagen is a replacement for your boy Aljamain Sterling. And let me say one thing. I feel like this is a harder matchup for Petr Yan. I know that Cory Sandhagen did lose to Aljamain Sterling. And I'm going to give credit to Sterling because that was an impressive win. But I feel like Sandhagen is so dangerous. Like his fights with Frankie Edgar, where he had that flying knee, Marlon Moraes, where he had that spinning wheel kick, and he finished off the fight with punches. He's just so dangerous. And his last performance against TJ Dillashaw, he lost the fight via split decision. But I read that 17 of 23 media outlets scored it for Sandhagen, as did I. I'm not sure how you scored that fight, but Sandhagen is very, very dangerous. And we know that Yan is a striker, so there's going to be 2 strikers. But something that really impressed me with Yan in his fight with Sterling, he could wrestle. Like, he was out wrestling a wrestler. So I don't know if that says anything, but I'm this is the fight that I'm probably most excited for on the card, aside from the Hamza fight. So it's gonna be, I feel like this is gonna be fireworks, man.
Yeah. So a lot of things building up to this fight. This is the interim bantamweight title fight, but I think everyone is regarding this as the real bantamweight title fight.
Except Sandhagen.
Whatever. I care about what Petr Yan thinks because this is going to be the Petr Yan show. Like he said, this is going to be Yan Island. Petr Yan, he had a big loss to Aljamain Sterling when they fought a couple of months ago. Very egregious, illegal knee to a downed opponent, costing him the belt. Spun this whole division into God knows what. TJ Dillon, dumbass, just straight dumbass. Cory Sandhagen, I agree with you. I thought that he won that fight, although it was a very close fight. TJ Dillashaw was landing more power, although I do think Cory landed more. And I thought that Cory was just a little bit more dynamic in that fight, but TJ did have the power, especially considering the layoff he was on, considering how he messed up his entire knee. I think it was like in the beginning of the fight. Very, very impressive fight. And it was one of those fights where like neither guy really lost. You know what I mean? I feel like both guys should have gotten their head raised. TJ was given, the UFC did obviously approach him first about this title fight, but obviously he needs surgery or whatever. He needs to recover his knee. Next best option was Cory Sandhagen. And like a lot of people are saying, I think these are the two top contenders. Cory Sandhagen, I definitely think he's more dangerous stylistically for Petr Yan than Aljamain Sterling. He's very fast. He's very unpredictable. Those flying knees, the way he spins, the spinning back fist.
Awkward. Very awkward.
Yeah, it's unorthodox. It's very unorthodox. But Petr Yan, the dude's hands are so fast, so much power.
Both fast as fuck.
I follow him both on our podcast, Instagram page and my personal. And just every day I go through my feed and I just see Petr Yan doing some just insane workouts. Like the guy's been grinding. He's training like a champion. He's living like a champion, and he is the champion as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he's not the champion because he was disqualified because he's an idiot.
We got
aside from that, I know one thing that really pisses me off is that people say that Yan didn't have the competition. He didn't fight any real competition. He fought like some serious names. I'll read the list. He fought Aldo. He fought Faber, Jimmy Rivera, John Dotson, Douglas Silva de Andrade. Like these are some big names. And he dismantled Sterling.
Two former champions.
Yeah, so he dismantled Sterling. I know that he lost via disqualification, but this fight is going to be sick. And Yan, so funny, such a funny guy. That weigh-in was so funny when he's like trying to scare Sandhagen. But it was insanely funny when he was practicing the illegal knee. That was jokes, man.
Yeah, the popping up at the press conference was hilarious. And Sandhagen didn't even blink. What a gangster, bro. Like he didn't even blink, like nothing, no reaction at all.
I really like Sandhagen, and as you were mentioning that he's an awkward fighter, his stance, I'm not saying his fighting style, but his stance, it reminds me of like a Dominic Cruz, like very weird, jumpy.
They used to train together, no? Or am I making that up?
I'm not sure about that, maybe. But this fight is going to be straight fireworks. But I can't not go with Yan. Like it's going to be Yan. Yan's going to win.
Yan Island, baby.
Yeah, all that, and this fight is. I have no more words to say, man.
All right, now for the main event of the evening.
That was the main event. Like fuck this shit. Like this is a good fight, but the Yan versus Sandhagen is the actual main event of this card for all of you that didn't know that.
I agree with you 100%, brother. But officially, the way the UFC has it, Jan Blachowicz is going to make another title defense against Glover Teixeira. Glover Teixeira, man, looking phenomenal as of late. He's up there in his age, but he's the number one contender in one of the scariest divisions right now, light heavyweight. Jan Blachowicz, though, different level, brother, different level. Legendary Polish power is a very real thing. I don't know if you want to say the legendary Polish power. I don't want to know if you want to say it's the rope from that guy that hung himself that he wears. The guy has like some kind of superpower. He started his UFC career 2-4, started off horribly. But now he looks like one of the most dominant UFC champions. Like he's just the knockout power he has. His boxing is just phenomenal. As we saw, he was able to do with Izzy Adesanya in his last fight. Takedowns, secured the grappling positions. Very, very well-rounded fighter. Very respectable person. I think he's great. I love listening to his interviews when he's on some other podcasts and other shows. I think if Glover Teixeira wins, it's going to be a huge upset. But I almost feel bad that a man like Glover is going to retire without holding the UFC gold. The guy's done a lot for the sport. You know, he's a legend. He's trained with some of the best in the game. He's fought against some of the best in the game. So, you know, when you see someone's resume like that, you expect them to, at least for one night, to hold that UFC gold. But I don't think Saturday night's going to be his night. And, you know, if not Saturday night, then I think this may be it for him.
Yeah, so Glover Teixeira, I think like this is probably his last chance at the title. He did lose to John Jones, and this is him coming back. I mean, I don't know. I could see him winning this fight, but the Polish power is the Polish power. I'm just gonna read some the Polish power resume. So he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, eight knockout victories, 9 submission victories, 7 first-round finishes. He's a great fighter, up there in age, 38 years old, as is Glover Teixeira, who has 18 KO victories himself, 9 submission victories, 9 first-round finishes. This is going to be an exciting fight, man. 2 very experienced fighters, a lot of octagon time for both of these fighters, and I don't know. I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz because of that legendary Polish power, because he just destroyed Israel Adesanya, and that says a lot. But I'm not gonna discredit Glover Teixeira. I do think that he has a chance, and if he wins, it's gonna be insane because most people are counting him out, but I'm not.
Yep, I completely agree with everything you just said, guys. Again, don't forget the prelims are starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and the main card is going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern. We are back on Fight Island. This is the first numbered UFC event that is not on pay-per-view in years. I think UFC 90 or something like that was like the last time they did that. Stacked card, very stacked card, big potential for card of the year. But I mean, look, you have to do something very insane needs to happen for this card to be a boring card.
I did not know that until you mentioned that in the beginning of this podcast, that it's going to be free for the fans. That's awesome. And like this card is just so stacked, such a treat for MMA fans. So guys, definitely tune into this, and we'll be discussing it next week for sure.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining us for another round of Inside the Clinch. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. On Instagram, we are Inside the Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. And on Facebook and YouTube, we are Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast. Thank you guys. Catch you next week.